No.
Oh, sorry, did I miss it?
No, it's still around.
Okay.
Georgina, welcome. All yours.
Yep, it's coming up now. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Atamarie. All right, so the purpose of this workshop is to take you through the benchmark results that we've received for the resident perception survey. Could you please move the slide forward? Thank you. Yes, thanks. So just to recap, we came in August, we presented the annual results from the 4 tranches of the survey across the year. And at that point, we said that we would be receiving a benchmark report, which would give us some more information. So we've now received that. And we'll send that benchmark report through to you after this workshop for you to have a look at. So just to recap, obviously, previously when we discussed this, we did see decline across our annual report, but the focus was very much in terms of looking forward and taking it within the context of what is a really challenging environment. And we talked about the fact that there's already a number of strong initiatives that are in place or currently being discussed as part of the development of the long-term plan to help influence trends, and that was particularly around roading, rubbish and recycling. And so just to reiterate, obviously our survey is one method of the way we receive feedback. We receive feedback via multiple ways. So we need to take these results in context. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through just some highlights of the report, some key messages, and then open it up for questions. And obviously, again, you'll receive the report after the workshop. So I'll just take you through the first slide I've got up there, and apologies that the words under it are a little bit difficult to see, but what is to focus on is these are all the councils that were benchmarked against. We're benchmarked against 17 other councils. There's 13 district and 4 city, and they are the councils that use the same supplier as us and have questions that are similar and that we can make comparisons to. So these are all the councils together. So the top line, the green line, is this year's results, and the bottom line, the grey line, is last year's results. So you can see overall, in terms of those questions on the right-hand side or the left, whichever way you're looking at it, around overall performance, reputation, value for money, etc., there's been a relatively some increase, I guess, from last year to this year across the cohort. If you look on the other graph, that's looking at our actual services like parks and reserves, water management, etc., and you can see there's some ups and downs across the pack there, and if we look at the averages. So if we move on and have a look at us, so this is just one of the key result areas to pull out. So the top line, the green line, is maximum. The bottom line, the orange line, is minimum. Grey is the average, and blue is Waipa. So last year, we were predominantly sitting middle of the pack, up slightly above, slightly below. So you can see that we have dropped in comparison to some areas, particularly in regards to our overall services and facilities, communication, engagement and inquiry handling. We have dropped a little bit in terms of where we're at. Just in terms of just pulling out some other key results. So this is in regards to our services again. We were sitting roughly middle of the pack, and you can see, unsurprisingly, that waste management has decreased quite significantly. And we also do see a drop in public facilities and open spaces. When you do see the report itself, it actually delves into these particular areas in more detail. So it pulls out some specific questions from roading and waters, etc. So you'll be able to examine that in more detail once you receive the report. But they're the overall headlines, if you like. Just moving on again, just wanted to pull out waste because obviously that was a key factor, and unsurprisingly here you can see that we have dropped quite down in regards to those peer councils that we've been benchmarked against. But some good news. So this is just the last key result that I will show you because I want to leave you to digest the report yourselves. But you can see on the left is looking at quality of life, and we are very much above average and retaining our perception in regards to that area. The right, we have dropped a little bit in terms of the district is going in the right direction, but I think that quality of life is something that we can all be really proud of. So that's all the results that I'm going to take you through today. I did just want to wrap up. Fundamentally, when you see the report, it really does strengthen the messages and the discussion that have already occurred. So all the things that have been highlighted and that will help to influence perceptions over time. So that whole conversation around strengthening our communication and engagement, the 3 R's that we'll be focusing on. And we also already have significant investment through the annual plan, our digital investment, the whole conversations around embedding councils and anchor institution and partnering with our community, and consideration of those results in some areas through the development of the long-term plan. And I didn't show you water management, but we do remain middle of the pack. We've held our own in regards to water management, and quality of life is a really positive story as well. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm happy to take any questions from what you've seen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yes, thanks, George, for providing it. I was really keen to see this benchmarking because, yeah, I've been waiting for it. Obviously, I'm disappointed with how we are stacking up, against our cohort as well as the wider councils. I totally agree that the plans in place that we've been formulating will help to address it. But I am really keen to see the full report. I am disappointed we haven't had it pre-circulated or even the copy of the slides, because it is hard to read even from here, you know, what some of those headings were or what the scores were in comparison. And I'm also keen to know what we're going to do as an action point, because it's all very well to send us out the report now, but is it going to come back to another workshop, or is it going to be on an agenda where I'd just like to see some kind of tighter process to make sure that we've got a strategy that is looking at lifting our performance, because I do take your point that we get feedback from other areas, but this is one of our key benchmarks that we do use. I'm not sure whether or not we can get access to the quarterly survey results, whether or not we can see how we're tracking, or maybe a discussion about what are the key ones we want to lift, and having a critical look at, well, what are we doing? Is it likely to, or what can we do? Yeah, I'd just like to have a bit more, I guess, to be on point and feel that you know, we're actually addressing this in some formalized way.
Yeah, so I'd like to respond to a couple of those points. I appreciate your comment around pre-circulation of the report. We wanted to come to you with a conversation in context before that. In regards to an action plan, I guess from my point of view, there are already really strong plans in place, and a lot of them are reflected through the organisational KPIs and through the LTP, which will be reported on a 4 and 8 month and annual report basis. And I'm happy to take advice on board, but I do kind of feel that we would be repeating some stories and reporting if we were to do that in terms of the action plans, but I'm happy to take that away and take advice from you on that. In regards to the quarterly update, I see no reason why we can't share that with you. I would just like to put a rider on that, and that this is a really long-term game. And quite often you'll see with those quarterly results that it'll go up, down, and there's kind of, we're doing it quarterly to try to reduce the bias of doing it once a year. So So to be honest, we do look at them internally, but we have to take a little bit of caution. So I'm not quite sure how useful that will be for you. Perhaps more useful to be monitoring what we're doing about it in regards to those actions, and then looking at it on an annual basis. But again, I'm happy to do what is asked of me.
George, just from me, it's easy to get defensive when you get results like this. Has the organisation sort of really critically looked at the results on a kind of a no blame basis? Just what's that telling us? And no blame, everyone knows everyone's trying to work hard, but following on from Claire, and we're kind of part of this as well, that we want organisational excellence, right? All of us do. So, and I hear what you're saying about noise in the quarterly results, but kind of being part of this improvement journey for us, I think is quite good, and being quite open about an investigation of what the data is telling us. I would really hate for the organisation to get defensive about this. And I've been part of organisations before that have got defensive, going, oh, that's not true, that's not true. Or, kind of perception is reality in this space. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Who else would like to?
Sorry, can I just respond to just one of those points, Mike? I guess I want to give assurance that staff do take this really seriously, and not in a blame context. So we've actually had quite a significant full leadership team workshop where we've gone through the results in a lot of detail. And that's, I think, where we can take some comfort that as a management team, we feel like we are doing the right things to help address it, or having the right discussions to help address it. So they are very much scrutinised and discussed at a management level.
Andrew, then Mike. Sorry, Mike, I didn't see, I forgot your hand was up.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for you. Yeah, look, to my mind, we're definitely, our residents' perception of us has definitely been impacted by that lack of rubbish truck drivers and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And also just the very wet year we've had, the extra growth of grass and whatever. Well, having said that, the benchmarking definitely shows that, you know, against other councils, our residents' perception is worse, if you like. And as Mike says, people's perception is their reality, and we have to address that. But I take on board that what you say, and I believe you're completely correct. That current plans are all about, you know, addressing these things, and yeah, just let's keep doing it. Yeah.
Mike Pettit.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Yeah, I guess just continue on with the theme. Is that second to last bullet point, consideration of results through the 2024-34 LTP. Yeah, so I mean, I'd really like, you know, when it comes to the finances and what you need to lift this, because it has gone backwards rapidly, and together we are all councils, so together we are responsible for this, but we're also, more importantly, responsible for turning it around. And I can only imagine that is going to take some resource, some change of mindset, and definitely some change of levels of service, because weather events can come and go, but you know, they're not going to stop. We just have to make sure there's enough money in the pot. And when it comes to this LTP, this is pretty core stuff that community expect us to get right. So, you know, as councillors, we just need to be cognizant of the fact that this really is core business. Those headings there of what people see a district, I guess a council needing to deliver fundamentally. So the icing on the cake projects for me are definitely going to come second to, I'll be really interested in see what staff come back with and what is required, what further investment is required to really identify and rectify some of those perceptions. The other thing is I'm absolutely for the quarterly reporting, because if we're not part of the solution, we're not part of the problem, but we can't really help. And we are here to help. So I think those quarterly reports to us, because what they do is, you know, when you have rubbish service, you expect to see that trended in the feedback surveys. So it just confirms what we may or may not know, but we are here to help.
Okay, Lou.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I actually agree with what Andrew said across the road, or Councillor Brown said across the road. But we are dealing with a situation. There's a lot of angst out there at the moment. Okay, we have to accept that amongst the public towards central government, and we would inherit a bit of that. But I do agree with what you said about the core industry. You know, people judge us on what they see, and that's the unfortunate part. The roads are deteriorated. We've seen a lot of problems with collection of rubbish. We've had a significant breakdown with our rubbish collection in the collection point in Bond Road. We've had a significant amount of issues. So what I'm saying here is that we must judge ourselves against what the public are saying. We've got to realise that local input is very important, and we have to say that that one last marker you had there was communication and reacting. That was the one thing that actually reflected most with me, because that to me is that first contact was dropped the most. And that is the one that I think we should be looking at, really, really important. That was on your graph, and it was right down almost on the red dot, wasn't it, at the end? So that's the one thing I think that we should really be focusing on at this moment.
Roger.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. My apologies for coming in a little bit late to this section. I agree with what I heard Claire say about having, to us as the council, having awareness and access to that report that benchmarks us. I think the LTP, as you quite rightly identified there in the second from last point, is going to be an extremely important time for us to consider, because, you know, we've, on a previous LTP session, we've already had that the levels of service are a consideration for resource development, resource allocation. You know, how are we going to allocate what available resource we have to levels of service versus other capital projects that we want to seek the funding for as well. So it's going to be really important that we have that information in front of us, that we can really give strong consideration to how we're going to resource those anticipated increases in levels of service to meet the perception of our community.
Okay. I think it's positive for me. You've got a council wanting to be part of the solution rather than beating you with a stick to get better. So yeah, let's be part of this. Trust us to help. We'll all try to do our role to improve this. So unless there's anything else, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, live stream's being